All right, we're doing a wrap on South African rugby, and we're going to start off with the Super Rugby campaign, and we'll start from bottom up with the EP Kings. A difficult start because they had very little time to prepare. A young coaching staff with a squad that wasn't quite up to Super Rugby standards. They found it very difficult. They played with a lot of passion and heart, but 40-point losses were the order of the day for them, and one really has to question whether South African rugby can handle 6 franchises, given the fact that a lot of our top players are overseas and earning money in France and in Japan and in Great Britain. The best news story, without a doubt, were the Lions. 3 years with Jan Ackerman and Swys de Bruin, a captain in Warren Whiteley who inspired his players, a very happy culture in the team. They were a brotherhood. You could see on the field the enjoyment they had in playing. Fantastic performance to qualify second. One would have to ask, perhaps if they'd played a stronger side, they may have played a final at home and may have had a better opportunity to win the final. But given that, they still won the quarterfinal and semi-final at home in fantastic fashion, beating 4 of the 5 New Zealand franchises. That is an unbelievable performance, and they are by far the best news story of South African rugby in 2016. Moving on to the Currie Cup now, I think it's quite important for us supporters and spectators to understand that the Currie Cup has changed enormously over the years. The purpose of the competition is to try and discover 30 players who can supplement the Super Rugby squads of the franchises. As long as we look at the Currie Cup in that light, I think it can be a very powerful competition for the future of young South African rugby players. What was good about it was seeing the Cheetahs, how well they played. I think also what was very positive was seeing the coaching philosophy of the Western Province side, coached by John Dobson, ball-in-hand philosophy, a very young team. They were heavily affected by box call-ups, as were the Lions, but the Cheetahs really deserved to win the competition. They were absolutely fantastic, unbeaten all the way through, but it just goes to show that if your Super Rugby side is not affected by Springbok call-ups and you have the same coach and the same organisation, it helps enormously in a weaker competition. Okay, now we're going to have to talk about the Springbok season, and unfortunately there's no way that I can sugarcoat this. It has been a dreadful season for South African rugby, the Boks, and particularly for the supporters, but also for the coaching staff. No one anticipated that we'd win only 4 out of 12 of the games this season, and given that Ireland came out at the beginning of the year with a depleted side, they had 8 to 10 starters who weren't able to make the trip. It was a huge surprise that we lost the first game against Ireland at Newlands. That set us off on the back foot. We managed to win the next 2. We then went into the Rugby Championship. It was a very tough away leg of the championship, lost all 3 games, came back to South Africa, again the side in lacking confidence, managed to scrape a win against Australia with 4 penalties and 2 drops from Mornay Steyn. We managed to sneak a win. But that wasn't good enough for the next week, where the Springboks did their best to hold the All Blacks probably for 50 minutes, and then unfortunately there was a rout at the end of the game. Going on the end-of-year tour, we saw a South African side draw with the Barbarians. Then the players from overseas joined the camp. I think that was disruptive. The England performance, again, in the game for a half, and then England got away with it. The nada of the entire season was the loss to Italy. No one expected South Africa to lose to a side outside the top 10. They rated 13th in the world. That was by far the worst performance that I've seen from a Springbok side since the Japan defeat. And the side lost rather meekly to Wales in the last game of the season. So 4 out of 12 wins is sadly not enough from a proud nation like South Africa, which were number 3 at the beginning of the year and are now at number 6, which have strong ramifications for the World Cup in 2019 and the draw that we might get. Just to finish off, I put this to you. If anyone had had a trifecta on Brexit, Trump winning the US elections, and the Springboks losing to Italy, you would never ever have to work again in your lives. Think about that as you have your braais during the festive season, and I wish you all well. I certainly can't wait until we get back and start Super Rugby again. I love rugby, and I hope you'll be still watching all the South African franchises, supporting them and supporting the Boks in 2017.